background, her education, and her experiences. And so, Ms. Fowler, let's see if we can find out exactly your experiences and your entrance into the real estate industry. Let's start off at the very, very beginning by telling us something about your background, your education, and some of your experiences, and then we'll talk about your real estate career as dealing with first-time home buyers.
Okay, well, as you said, I'm KFowler. I am a broker at eGap Real Estate. I actually started selling real estate numerous years ago, but I'm sorry, I'm screwing up. I started selling real estate years ago. I am a native of Nashville, so I had the opportunity to watch it grow from the very small city that it was to now the huge metropolitan area that it's becoming. I went to Maplewood High School, played sports there, very competitive, know a lot of people here, and I spent a lot of time helping a lot of those same people that I grew up with find homes. I ended up in real estate because I was working in a company, a corporate company here doing accounting. I was the last man in, the first man out when the economy changed. So at that point, I made a decision to go ahead and start selling real estate, which is what I always wanted to do. But after I graduated from high school, I went to Fisk University and just kind of went a different path. So now I'm here 8 years later selling real estate and just been helping numerous homeowners, first-time home buyers, people who are selling their homes again, but just pretty much empowering those people to be able to take the next steps into home ownership.
And so you've been involved in real estate for the last 8 years.
Yes.
In Nashville. And you've had an opportunity, I would imagine, to watch Nashville grow. And I would imagine as a realtor, you can say something about the growth of Nashville and how it fits into your market and how you're trying to use the growth of Nashville as part of your market.
Well, the growth of Nashville has happened rather quickly. You have homes, and you can't truly live anywhere close to town for less than $275,000, and that's on the east side of town. Everything else is pretty much skyrocketed. I've had a lot of clients who have been moving out to the suburb areas, more like Hendersonville. You have Shelbyville, Eagleville, not Bellevue, Pegram, Cheatham County, different areas because the prices have gotten so high in the Nashville area, which is due to the gentrification that's going on, and it's affecting a lot of people. Some people positively, some people negatively, but it's just, as a whole, you want to just make sure that you're working with the agent that can help you walk through the process and put you in something that's going to work for your family and your lifestyle.
I think we've said quite a bit about Nashville's growth, and you talk about the impact that this is having on some of your clients from a positive point of view as well as from a negative point of view. Let's look at, during this segment, some of those views in reference to what are some of the negative things in reference you finding out that your clients will talk about dealing with the expanding real estate industry in Nashville, and what are some of the positive things that they will talk about?
Some of the negative things that I've seen is sellers. You'll live in East Nashville, you sell your home for maybe $250,000, and you cannot afford to live anywhere near where you currently live or to live in anything the size of what you currently live in. I have a client who wants to sell a 2,300 square foot house, they'll have to move into something 1,300 square feet that'll be in the same price range of what they're wanting to stay in. So the affordability of things, and just not really what they can afford, but what they want to pay. Because in mortgages, sometimes you're approved for more than you want to pay for your monthly payment. So it's just about staying comfortable in that space, and that's where a lot of people are having a problem.
But if they are now in a house in one of these areas that's growing with gentrification and et cetera, what are some of their prospects in terms of how they sell that house, and what are some of the advantages of them selling? The
advantages?
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of companies going around purchasing their homes due to tax prices. I have a lot of clients call me, hey, they want to offer me this price for my taxes, and they'll pay me cash. And to someone who's older and whose home is paid off, $85,000, $100,000 is a lot of money to them. And I sometimes feel like they've been taken advantage of if they just do it that way. I think they should speak with the realtor, because their homes are they're worth a lot more than they're thinking they're worth.
So you do think that there are a large number of folks who are ready to sell their house, but they And we'll talk about that when we come back. And we'll be back with you following this very, very short commercial break. Kisa. Thank you, and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Ms. Kisa Fowler. Now, Ms. Fowler, during this second segment, we've got about 8 minutes, and let's talk about first-time home buyers in Nashville, some of the advantages and some of the disadvantages in terms of your perspective in terms of dealing with first-time home buyers.
Okay, well, what I'm seeing with a lot of first-time home buyers is they're getting off track sometimes because they're thinking that renting is the best thing to do. They're paying upwards sometimes of $1,500 to rent a home, and you can have a very nice house that you're paying a mortgage for. You're actually paying somebody else's mortgage when you're renting. So it's not as hard as they think it is to get pre-approved. A lot of people are using a lot of different credit programs to look at their credit. And the easiest way for them to go ahead and find out what they qualify for is to reach out to a lender. And if they don't have a lender, of course, to reach out to an agent as myself or someone else that they trust that can get them in the right hands so they could go ahead and start working on what they need to pay off.
It's a serious business when you get ready to sell a house. Is that what you're saying?
It's very serious. It's very serious. It's a legal binding contract when you decide to purchase a house. Everything in that contract you can be sued for if you do not perform what you're saying you're going to do. Of course, being a homeowner is like the American dream, and it's kind of changing because the prices in Nashville have become so high in terms of some people's affordability that they're having to move to the outskirts of town. You have Clarksville's and just different areas that are cheaper, but they're moving those, the people are having to move out there due to just prices and what they can afford comfortably.
A person who had a nice home in one area will move to another area, perhaps get more money for that home than ordinarily, and move to another area, but still cannot replicate that first home in that second area that they moved to. Is that a problem with them? Well,
they could replicate the home oftentimes, but they have to move 45 minutes away from Nashville to even get something equivalent to what they had for a good price. And you're right, they are getting more money than they would normally get maybe $250,000, $300,000 for a home that they paid $80,000, $100,000 for years ago. So they have a huge surplus. But where do they go once they sell? Yeah.
And if they want to replicate that in terms of getting the same quality of the house that they sold and left, they have to pay more money when they move. Is that?
They're going to either pay more money to live close, or they're going to have to go about 45 minutes to 50 minutes outside of that area and just get a new comfort zone in terms of new area.
And so do you find that there are many folks who make that choice in terms of their movement, and what are some of the consequences of some of those choices that they make?
I've seen people make that choice and they've moved. I haven't had anybody come to me with any consequences. They've actually been happy with their move, because most people that are selling, they're just wanting to sell, and they have, like I said, find a new comfort zone. Your house is your comfort zone, it's your everything. So it's hard sometimes to get sellers to change their minds on places that are comfortable for them, because they know where they live. They've lived there for numerous years and they don't want to be anywhere else. So yeah.
And so you find that when they do sell, they get a good price, but they can't replicate that house with that same amount of money in the area where they sold. No. And so it seems that the most important thing is central location. What does that mean in terms of housing and the houses that you're dealing with, located around the center city area?
What does that mean in terms of the central locate? Well, it's just not happening. Even once you sell $300,000, you're not going to get what you want in your area most of the time. It's just not going to happen.
And so individuals, you would advise individuals who wish to sell to think in terms of the comfort zone, I think you indicated, in terms of what they are going to receive if the idea is to sell and rebuild. What about those individuals who sell with the intention of having a large amount of money, but not only can they not afford housing, but they have other things that they now have to call upon in terms of using the cash that they had? Can they survive for a long time with the money that they pay for that first house without buying a comparable house?
You said, can they survive? That just depends on how they go about dispersing that money. I would definitely encourage them to get somebody to help them manage that type of money if they have never had that kind of money before. They can buy in different areas. I'm not going to say they can't buy in their area. No, they can qualify for a loan oftentimes and then use the remainder as a payment of overage. But it is a lot higher than what they were used to paying before in those particular areas.
Well, and what do you find in reference to some of the issues dealing with the homeless population in which people move in and out of these areas? There's nothing for you in terms of dealing with the homeless population, but is there anything within the real estate area that deals with, that tries to accommodate people who have been moved out of these houses?
Not to my knowledge, no. I'm not aware of anything like that. I know that our homeless population is truly growing and will continue to grow as the prices become higher, because the average person doesn't make enough money to qualify for a $300,000 home. I think read that we need $70,000 a year to live comfortably in the new Nashville that we live in now. And a lot of people don't make $70,000 a year.
And so the average, you might say the average is about $70,000 a year to live in and around comfortably in the state. And those who can't afford that might have a house there, but once they receive that money, that's all that they have in reference to the house. They can't replicate that, and more than likely their comfort, I think you call it the comfort zone, has diminished. Is that what you find?
Well, oftentimes they find a new comfort zone, a new area to start to love and to adopt, because that's where the homes are priced where they want to live and what they want to pay, not where they want to live, but what they want to pay. In certain areas, you still can get a nice home, a nice yard, different things like that. In Nashville, you're going to get a really nice house, but you're not going to get much space. But it's growing, it's beautiful, and it's working.
And
for
so
what they're trying to do.
you deal primarily with home buyers, people who wish to buy homes, and you're a home seller. You sell houses in a real sense, and
Yeah.
so people that are looking for a house would come to you, and you would have an opportunity to show them where they could do, what would be the best advantage, and et cetera. Is that what
Yes,
we're doing? And we'll talk about that later when
Okay.
we come back to the second section. And we'll be back with you following this very, very short break. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Ms. Fowler, and she's given us some information relative to first-time home buyers in Nashville. Ms. Fowler, let's see if we can continue our conversation over the last 10 minutes, talking about some of the challenges that first-time home buyers face in Nashville and some of the things that are going on that will help people become first-time home buyers and buy a home, period.
Okay, there are numerous advantages to first-time home buyers right now. They have some great programs, down payment assistance programs. They have up to $15,000. So THDA program, should check into that. You have other programs that help you with your down payment. So that's if you don't have your down payment saved up. There's also numerous ways for you to look up ways to save your down payment if you have to save your down payment. But becoming a homeowner, you get to start building that wealth. If you purchased your home, 2014, right now you would be selling in 2018 for way more than you purchased your home for. So just to start building that wealth and taking that step in your life. Also, you'll get the freedom of decorating your home, doing whatever you want to it, renovations, just add-ons, whatever you want to do to your house that you can't do in a rental, and just giving your family something to live in.
So there are tremendous advantages to home ownership.
Yes.
In Nashville and anywhere else, you see. But now what we find is that a large number of people are being pushed out of their homes in Nashville, which is to say that the urban growth has been of such that some of the one-family houses are now being replaced by apartments and large buildings. How does that impact upon what you do?
The single-family homes have been replaced and changed and replaced to the apartments and horizontal regimes, but that does affects what I do, because the clientele sometimes that I work with, they want single-family homes, and the prices sometimes of those are a little higher for them than they would like to pay. So, which means they go out to different areas that are more comfortable. But they speak with the lenders and they let them know exactly, what it is that they will qualify for and go from there.
And most people that attempt to buy a house are serious in reference to doing it. They've given it some thought and tried to find the mortgage that they can afford and other things, and you have the ability to be able to help them in terms of dealing with that. Is that what we're saying? Yes,
I often hear from potential clients who think their credit is too horrible. They think they have a lot of misunderstandings, that you have to have a 750 credit score, that your credit has to be 100% perfect, and that's so not the case. A lot of times they just need to reach out to myself, a realtor, to help them get with the lender, or reach out to a banker at their bank or lender to get that information, because it's not as hard as a lot of people feel like it is. I really love when people come to me and say, I want to buy a house, but I don't think I can. And then I take them, we'll go through the whole process. I get them with my lenders, and I have so many success stories of people just coming to me feeling like they could not do it and got it done, because I walked them through the entire process. And the lender sat there, went through everything with them, and just made it happen for them. So that's a really great feeling.
And so you find that it is possible to accommodate people wherever you are in terms of the house that they would like to buy, and to show them methods whereby they might be able to achieve that purchase. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. I pride myself in that. You may not get, you won't live in East Nashville for $200,000 in a 2,000 square foot house, but my goal is to make sure that you get the house that's going to work for you and your family, and be in the price range so that you can grow wealth and not be house rich and can't go on a vacation. I want you to enjoy being a homeowner.
Now, when you go into some of these cities and you talk about first-time home buyers, do you find folks who not only cannot afford it, but wish to sort of combine with others in terms of purchase? You generally sell to single-family owners. Is that what you do? And so you're not involved in any kind of real estate that would bring you in terms of dealing with apartments and other condominiums and et cetera. Is that part of what you do?
Well, I deal with condos as well, and I deal with some investors. I have had brothers and sisters and purchase homes just because sometimes the prices are a little bit higher than they want to pay. But yes, I do deal with condos. I haven't dealt so much with apartment buildings, but I've dealt with condos.
And so you can almost translate a condominium with a home. Is that the ability, do you have the ability to do that, or how do you separate what is a condominium from a single family dwelling? Or is there any difference in that?
Yes, there is a huge difference. The single family home is just a home that's there on its own. It's lot. A lot of times you can't have a zero lot, which means you don't have a yard. But a condo is going to have a different HOA. So most single family homes HOAs range $25 to $50 per month. The HOAs have condos HOAs have about $140 to $265. I've seen them higher, but that's pretty much the condominium association saying that they will handle everything outside of the house and the roof, and then you handle everything inside. But that's not always communicated. You really have to pull those covenants to know exactly what's covered. So that's why it's important to hire a realtor so they can pull those covenants for you to let you know exactly what's covered.
When you say pull a covenant, what does that mean?
That means pulling the HOA covenants. It will be a document that will show you everything that is covered within that HOA. And you do the same thing with the house, a normal house as well that's covered by an HOA.
And so whatever belongs to a buyer is already covered and laid out in a document that you call a HOA. Is that what the purpose of an HOA?
Well, the HOA is just telling you what's required of that neighborhood. So in the house, in the single family home, it's just going to say maybe like all mailboxes must be painted black, or keep toys out of your yard, just different things like that. Some of them they all have different language, so that's why it's important to know what's expected in your neighborhood.
What you can do in reference to the house that you purchased.
Right.
You can't purchase a house in a neighborhood and start a grocery store and you know, to be sort of heavy-handed in reference to it. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
It has to have a real purpose, and that purpose has to be a dwelling for people who sleep in that house and live in that house or whatever, and et cetera.
Well, and the houses, I don't think they do that so much. You have to live in the house in a single family home area. In the condos, you do have that covenant. Sometimes it says if you purchase this condo, you have to live in it. You cannot rent it, because a certain amount of condos have to be buyers, real buyers, in order for them to receive federal funding. So that does happen with condos.
And so you can't purchase a condo and then rent it out to individuals. Is that what you're saying? Rent it out as apartment buildings to an individuals. Is that what?
You can if the covenant says that, but if it does not, then no. You have to check with the HOA of a condominium before you purchase it to rent it out. In
that particular area, is that what we're saying, which is to say that you might be able to do it in one area because it has already been written in the H?
No, they have to have a certain amount of renters and buyers. So renters and actual people living there to get federal funding. So if they qualify for any form of federal funding, they have to make sure that they have the ratios that they need to get that federal funding.
Now, what would you, over the last few minutes that we have here, a couple of minutes that we have here, what would you advise people who are looking for a home for the first time? What would you advise over the last minute that we have here?
I would advise them to just do it. Stop overthinking it. Contact a mortgage person, or contact myself, KFowler, a realtor, to get you to a mortgage person, because you want to know what your credit score is. We want to know how to work on it. We want to work with you to figure out your game plan. Everybody has their own game plan, and there's no like one-stop shop to purchasing a home. Everybody has their own thing their own things that they want to do that works for them. So don't try to repair your credit on your own. Contact us. We will go through everything with you, show you what to pay off, what not to pay off, and get you on the road to home ownership. But don't think you're in it by yourself. Contact a professional and go through the process. Very good. And of course, Ms. Fowler, how would they contact you in reference to this over the last few seconds that we have? You can contact me by calling 615-300-6274, or you can email me at Kesa, K-E-S-A, Fowler @yahoo.com, or you could go to www.egaprealestate.com. And most of those connections will put them in touch with you, and you can provide them the information